If you just tuned in, this is Newsdesk, and I am Kemini Nyamani Yamano. First on the bill is the fact that Minister of Health, Cheria Iti, says doctors working in the various districts will be paid by the assemblies. According to her, it forms part of government's decentralization policy. However, the Ghana Medical Association is unhappy about it. In fact, it has kicked against the moves by government to have district assemblies across the country pay salaries of medical doctors. I'll find out why at this point, as I am joined over the telephone by Dr. Frank Srebo. He is General Secretary for the association. Thank you, Dr. Srebo, for joining us here on Newsdesk.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, so you're kicking against this move. Why?
We are not entirely against it, but we see that the whole process or the policy has not thoroughly thought through. And
Dr. Srebo,
yes, hello.
I can barely hear you. If you could speak up for me.
Okay, I don't know whether you are hearing me now.
Better.
Is it better?
Yeah, if it stays this way, I'm sure we'll have a conversation.
Sorry, I think it's where I am. It's a little bit far from Mark.
I see.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that we believe that the whole policy is on the territory. And if you look at the way the minister did this situation, there is also some kind of a pilot project. And we know what happens with pilot projects in this town. Once everything becomes a pilot, it ends up being something permanent. And we all know the kind of problems that business families didn't have with their common fund. So for us, what we are saying is very simple. We know that if we call for some district assemblies, they will be the enough to pay their doctors. And as a result, we believe that will come to a time where the assemblies they lose their doctors, and others will have to take them on because they have the money to pay them. And we feel that health is not for sale. It's supposed to be for everybody, whether you are rich or poor. You are supposed to get some kind of help. But beyond it, the policies that the minister is saying and all those things, go beyond what is on the table. There is more to it than what the minister is saying. I have listened to the PRO of the Ministry of Health, and he has indicated that one of the reasons why they are making this book for doctors always go on strike, and as a result, they feel that the assembly should be responsible for employing their doctors. They will deal with them the way they have to deal with them. So it's more to deal with the issue of government probably thinking that it can deal with some of the matters that come up, and as a result, doctors going on strike here and there. But the government will have to look at this very well and find out the reasons why doctors go on strike.
Dr. Srebo, I think that the line has gone from bad to terrible. So here's what we'll do. We'll get you back over the telephone, and then we'll have this conversation again pretty shortly. Now, staying on this same conversation, the health ministry's move to have doctors paid by the district assemblies. You're joined by Eric Osai. Eric Osai is Dean of Students at the Institute of Local Government, and he's also joined us over the telephone. Thank you very much, Eric, for joining us here on Newsdesk.
Thank you, my sister.
Your initial reaction to such a move?
I think in the long term, it will be a very good system for the Republic of Ghana because district hospitals are district hospitals. And if we are looking at local government in its proper sense, all the basic essential services, which are health, education, and agriculture, should properly come under the oversight of the local government. So if we are able to get this through, it will help the Republic of Ghana. However, how to get there is the challenge now. How do we ensure that the resources that the hospitals need to pay for doctors and other things are made available as and when they need it? How do we ensure that doctors go to their work on time, they attend to patients as required, and they don't turn away patients, and they make sure that their services get to the people down there, so that doctors don't go to work at 10 o'clock and leave at 2. Doctors don't go to work at 11 and then say that they have attended to 5, 10 patients, they are tired, they go and do locum elsewhere. When we get the system running, we will get the District Assembly Human Resource Directorate, which would also keep an eye on how health service delivery is done, because they are the ultimate beneficiaries. It will even reduce the stress and the pressure of doctors constantly dealing with the crowd when it comes to issues of salaries and other logistics. In addition to that, if there are basic essential logistics that they need to work, they can quickly get to the district assembly for support without looking up to the center. So that is my initial reaction.
Right.
To this particular
doctors have raised concerns about the delay in the release of the district assembly's common fund, hence their distrust for as far as sustainability of this is concerned. They do not trust that you'll get their salaries on time.
My sister, doctors' salaries will not be paid from the district assembly's common fund. Let me use your medium to explain that the district assembly's common fund is purposely for development. It is not for the payment of salaries which are recurrent in nature. Doctors' salaries are part of the personnel emolument budget, so that if we move doctors onto the payroll of the assemblies, we move them together with their salaries, which until now has been managed by the Ministry of Health or the Ghana Health Service. So their salaries will be intact. In fact, they will benefit where the assemblies realizes that the salaries that comes to them is inadequate. The assembly can then top it up from the internally generated revenue. So the common fund is not going to be the source of financing doctor salaries. No, you don't use the common fund to pay salaries. You use the common fund for development, to promote development, which has been interpreted to mean physical development. So doctors should not be afraid that if, in case that system is operationalized, their salaries will be paid out of the common fund. That is not the issue.
You raised some issues we needed to look at. The amount of time the doctors will spend there. We need to make sure that the doctors are there at the time they're supposed to be. They spend the number of hours they're supposed to be working there at the hospital. If we want to go this way, how would we ensure that?
Well, under the arrangement, a district health directorate or department will be created, and I am foreseeing a situation where the directorate will work with the human resource directorate of the district assembly. The human resource directorate of the district assemblies would ensure that there is value for money by doing constant monitoring in partnership with the district health directorate to ensure that each and every health personnel that is being paid by the district assembly is working. So an input-output analysis will be conducted, and then attendance will be monitored strictly. Because if the monitoring is from the center or the monitoring is from the region, at times it's difficult to monitor. But then if the assembly that pays for the salaries and allowances of these doctors ensures that they are working at the local level, it is normally prompt. But I think that is how I foresee the system to be running.
In other words, then, we should have sanctions when we decide to decentralize the payment policy and doctors don't go to work.
Definitely. And these sanctions will be administered at the district level because they are closer to the action spot. They have the direct evidence, and it will be extremely difficult for even certain doctors who may not want to be punctual at work, but yes, still they want to be paid.
Right.
It is just to improve performance and quality service delivery.
Eric, at this point, I'm going to have you hold the line. Dr. Frank Stribwa, who's General Secretary for the Ghana Medical Association, is back over the telephone. Thank you, Doc, for joining us again.
Thank you very much.
Doc, now, you raised concerns about the District Assembly's Common Fund and the delay in its disbursement, which you fear would affect your salary payments. Now, the issue now I am learning is the fact that you're not going to be paid from the DACF. And so then there is no cause for alarm.
Well, it's interesting. You see, what they are saying is, it means that clearly somebody has not actually looked at this policy clearly. Because if you listen to the minister, it means that there was going to be some form of payment from the internally generated funds from the district assemblies. You listen to others' comments, it appears that government is the one who is going to channel this money to the district assemblies for them to pay the doctors. Indeed, the question, after I heard bits and pieces of what the interview you had with the gentleman, he should forgive me, I don't know his name.
Eric.
It is clear that they are talking about the fact that doctors are not at work. Is that the case? Is that the case that doctors don't go to work? Is that what they are saying? Is it that we don't go to work? And if we don't go to work, what have they done as far as the management of the various facilities are concerned? What have they done? Have they make sure that at least they live up to what
Dr. Sherbo, to be fair to Eric, I think he meant that we should put structures in place to make the doctors at the district level comfortable so they can go to work, stay there for the number of hours they are supposed to stay, have the necessary logistics they need to work with.
So unless they pay the doctors, they can't put in structures in place to ensure that the system works, is what they are saying. Why is it that they want to start this thing with doctors? Let me tell you, there are a lot of things happening at the background.
I see.
And all these things are geared towards making sure that doctors become uncomfortable in the system. If I have to tell you that even committees and boards that doctors were serving on, including the HIA board and even the Food and Drugs Authority, doctors have been taken out. And now it's supposed to be an appointment by government, and the associations and the councils don't have anything to do with those appointments. And yet, we are the same people who are supposed to retrieve the information and give it out to our members. How do we do that? This is just one of the things that are happening. And so really, it is all to do with the fact that government is uncomfortable. They feel that we always demand what is rightly ours. Indeed, as we speak, doctors don't even have conditions of service. Nobody is talking about that. If they want to let the assemblies pay, they should put in place conditions of service. Where is the conditions of service? Where is it? Now, we even have suspected cases of Ebola outbreak. And when these things happen, it's the health workers who suffer, who take care of all these things. So you don't have to pay us to be able to put in place mechanisms to ensure that at the end of the day, look, let me tell you, what will happen is that some doctors in certain districts will not be paid. And when they start making noise, everybody will say that they are the popular word, that is what is going to happen. So we should head things slowly. We should not just get up one day and decide to put in place measures that have not been thought through, measures that have not. Are we going to pay our MPs from the districts or the constituencies? At least they are in the minority, 275 or so. We should start with them and let's see how it goes.
But Dr. Sherbo,
about doctors now that everybody thinks that it's the time for them to push doctors into certain areas that we are not supposed to be pushed into. And every single law is being changed against doctors. Let me tell you now, even laws have been changed to the point that if you're a doctor and for some reason you do not register for the year, you don't renew your license for the year, you go to jail for 10 years. Meanwhile, the quack doctor, when he's arrested, he's just cautioned. And these are the things that are happening in this country now. So everything, doctor, is like now it's a case to go into medicine. Because the government feels that we would demand for what is rightly ours, and so they will do everything to ensure that we are pushed down and we can't resurrect anymore. And that is what they are doing. It's a grand agenda. It is not just what you are thinking about. It has got nothing to do with decentralization. It is more than that.
So it's a grand agenda to make the doctor uncomfortable. That's what you're saying?
What everybody to understand is that doctors are not bothered who pays them. At the end of the day, what is important is that the doctor gets paid for the work that he has done. So it doesn't matter whether it's a district assembly or it is even the district chief executive or even the audicro of the town who have to pay him. The most important thing is that the doctor is paid every month. What we are saying is we believe that it's a policy that has to be thought through. We have to be well discussed, and we all have to make our contributions and ensure that we don't have the problem where doctors will have to migrate from where they are to other areas. What benefit would this make in terms of posting, for example?
Dr. Sherbo, I'm going to have you hold your fire here. And let me just inform my viewers. You can share your thoughts with me on any of the topics we are discussing this morning on the program on the social media platforms. Joynews on TV, on Facebook, and on Twitter. I am on Facebook as well, Kemini Emmanuel, or I tweet at Kemini. I'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of us here in this community. Eric. Hello, Eric. Glad to have you.
Yes, thank you.
You heard the man. You have any reactions very quickly before we move on?
Yes, I do. He raised a number of issues, and I want to clarify some of them. The first one is the fact that they don't have conditions of service. The process has been that once they are paid by the local government, they become part of the local government service, and the local government service has conditions of service for all staff that are being paid by the local government. They are there. Secondly, he raised the issue of why are they starting with doctors. In fact, there are a number of decentralized public service sector institutions that have been earmarked for decentralization. under a draft consolidated local government bill, there are 18 of them. Agri, community development, education, finance, fire, health, housing, horticulture and landscape, public works, roads, social welfare, sports, etc. So it is not only doctors. In fact, at the moment, there is educational decentralization also ongoing. So ultimately, all of them will be decentralized. The third issue he raised has to do with the fact that doctors will be paid, they should be paid their salaries and etc., etc. Please, doctors' salaries will be paid. The only change is that the current salary they are earning will not come from the center. It will only be channeled through the district assemblies for them to be sure that the money is going to the person who has worked and the fact that the person has also worked and the person deserves it. So this is something that is being done to promote decentralization, bring service delivery to the doorstep of the people, and then improve local governance. I don't have any evidence.
Eric, one of Dr. Serebo's concerns is the fact that we should think this through properly before we implement it. From the conversation you're having with me, it looks as though this has been well thought through. Now, take us through what went into this.
You see, the Minister for Health has clarified the air that she is not saying that the policy is about to be implemented anytime soon. Currently, there is an ongoing decentralization reform. It is only at the draft stage. There is a draft consolidated local government bill, which is even yet to be finalized. So consultations are ongoing. So very soon, the leadership of the Ghana Medical Association, I believe, would also be consulted. So these concerns are very legitimate, they are important, and I believe that when it gets to the appropriate quarters, which is the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization, it will be taken on board. We are hastening slowly, but at the end of the day, we want the average Ghanaian to benefit from the tax that person pays, and then ensure that there is improved service delivery at the local level.
Right. Eric, I'm going to let you off here at this point. Eric Odro says Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Government Studies. But I still have over the telephone Dr. Frank Serebo, who is General Secretary for the Ghana Medical Association. Dr. Serebo, I want to read something quickly to you, and then I'll have you react to it afterward. Now, Imani Ghana's president, Franklin Kudjo, stated that he's in support of the decision by government to pay doctors through the district assemblies. And now, on his Facebook page, he wrote that, I fully support the government on this move. They should do same with teachers. In fact, the assembly should be empowered to hire and fire doctors, teachers, and pay them well from the funds they generate. Those assemblies with less potential will think harder about potential revenue streams, as they will lose service providers to other welcoming districts. However, for this to work, the government must sincerely give up 70% of its hold over DCEs, those who are handpicked by presidents and their functions of assemblies. I don't want my DCE to tell me his source of funds for erecting a mansion was the lottery. We need them to be elected too. We also need more doctors, so the universities must stop acting funny with admission. Now, it goes on and on, but Dr. Serebo, I'm sure, though he's in support of this, it captures generally some of the things you've been talking about.
That is why I said that, indeed, even as doctors, we really don't care who pays us. But as he also indicated, there is a need for us to build capacity even at the district level, district assembly level. The question is, what kind of individuals do we even have at the district assembly level? Do they have the capacity to deal with some of these issues? Do they have the capacity to deal with salaries and all that? Now, this is the case where even our district assemblies, most of the people who are there are government appointees. And indeed, whatever government that comes to power appoints its own party people. And sometimes does not even take into consideration the qualification of these individuals before they are appointed. It is all based on the fact that you have been able to contribute to the party and so forth, and you are giving it as somehow gratis. We have to build the capacity of these district assemblies. And indeed, he raised a very fundamental issue where district assemblies who are poor are more likely to lose their health workers or doctors to other district assemblies that are rich. Have we considered all these things? And that is why we are saying that when issues like this are coming up.
But on the other hand, Dr. Serebo, Franklin thinks that it would empower those assemblies to do better as far as their revenue generation is concerned?
Let me tell you, there are some districts that the truth of the matter is that no matter how hard you empower them, they will not be able to generate enough funds unless they decide to erect, what do you call it, some different kind of money collection centers along the farm routes. Because there are some districts that are deprived. And if you even look at the way transfer of these district assembly common funds go on in this country, sometimes the money don't even go. And so if government even decides to send out the money to them, and yes, madam.
Oh, hold the line. I understand Eric is back over the telephone. Let's deal with some of the concerns raised here quickly before we wrap up on this conversation. Eric.
Yes.
Right, and so Imani has raised the question of DCEs being elected. Imani thinks that government should let go of its hold, 70% of its hold from the election of these DCEs, if we are to go this way.
Yeah, my sister, I disagree with the election of DCEs. What I think can help us, if we go this way, is to find a way of appointing DCEs as competent city managers. The reason being that you elect DCE to do what? You elect DCE to act as a chief executive of a district, to manage the district like a corporate entity, so that the citizens of the Republic of Ghana will get value for money. But if you appoint DCE, I'm not saying that the appointment suggests that they are going to appoint an unqualified person. Election does not also produce the most qualified person to manage an entity like a business. I am opposed to the election of chief executive. I think it should be on merit. It should be advertised in the papers. People with certain requisite qualifications must apply. They must be interviewed, and they should be given performance indicators to bring development and manage local government like a business. In that case, if you transfer the salaries of doctors through the district assemblies, you transfer the salaries of teachers through the district assemblies, this city manager will be more competent enough to deal with the issues.
Without that, then we could also infer that this process will suffer.
Hello?
I'm saying that without this getting a DCE on merit, without that bit in place, then the fears of Dr. Serebo will actually hold water.
That is not entirely the case, because the management of the salary bits or the other administrative processes is done by a technical person called the district coordinating director. The chief executive is a political appointee. The only thing is that if you have a chief executive who is appointed on merit, he is well placed to deal with the issues and have a very good interpersonal relationship to manage all these processes than having a chief executive who is appointed to be as a political appointee. That bit will not support the process.
Eric, but is it all district assemblies that can fend for themselves? You may well know that some assemblies are really not well to do when it comes to revenue generation.
Yes, I agree with you. At the moment, some of them are not pulling their weight in terms of revenue generation. But when you look at the funding sources of local government, aside the common fund and aside what they can mobilize themselves, they are also supposed to mobilize some from corporate social responsibility obligations from companies. They are also supposed to mobilize some from public-private partnerships. And they are also expected, in certain cases, to even borrow. You see, most assemblies are just not exercising the mandate and the powers given to them to mobilize the revenue. They have the revenue base, but they are not tapping into it. So then if they are challenged in these processes, I'm sure they will be able to live up to expectations. After all, no district assembly in law is supposed to be poor in terms of revenue base.
Wouldn't we then now have a flight of doctors from poorer districts to the well-to-do districts?
Well, by way of implementation, I believe as a nation, we should have short to medium-term program of ensuring that district assemblies that have low revenue base to support whatever salaries government will transfer will be supported up to a certain level. For the well-to-do districts, we leave them on their own. And in this case, we try as much as possible to bring all of them up to speed. As a nation, we are likely to have challenges when it comes to these things. But let me also mention that in anticipation of this, an intergovernmental fiscal framework, a framework that regulates the transfer of funds between the center and the local government, is about being finalized. And once it is finalized, all these arrangements will be put in place. We have to make certain serious decisions that will move Ghana forward. We cannot continue to operate like the way we have operated in the past. If all of us put our hands and our will to the desk, we'll be able to make progress.
Right. Eric, I'm going to have to let you go. Thank you very much. Eric Ojo is Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Governance. But Dr. Shribwa is still over the telephone. Dr. Shribwa, with the conversation we've had so far and the fact that Eric is calling for support for poorer districts, you feel you have been vindicated when he said that indeed we need to think this through properly before we do?
I mean, precisely the point. If you listen to what he is even saying and you really listen to him, there is a need for capacity building. Have we done that? Have we set the distance right, the foundation right? And initially, he did mention about even monitoring, evaluating the kind of work that the doctors are doing or whoever the assemblies are paying and all those things. We have all of them in place. What is the contribution of the doctors in this? Have the doctors been consulted? Because he said doctors were going to be consulted, but from what he's saying, it's obvious that this thing has gone very far. And that it appears that certain committees and other people have sat down and planned this, and they are not telling us, which means that indeed we were not consulted right on where it goes. So if there were problems that we could even have identified from the bottom, now where do we go?
So at this point, will the GMA make any move towards this?
Well, we won't make any move. Well, we would wait and see how it goes. But what we want to say, tell everybody is that indeed, as doctors and trained as doctors, it doesn't necessarily mean that once you finish medical school, you should practice as a doctor. And so if there is any doctor out there who goes to a certain district and he feels that things are not going the right way for him, he has every right to decide to go and do whatever job he's done. In fact, we have doctors, medical trained doctors who are now pastors and doing all kinds of things. So indeed, we are not forced to practice medicine. And so these assemblies can hire and fire. That is within their right. And so the issue is that what we are afraid of as Ghana Medical Association is the fact that some of the gains that we've made in terms of sending people to the remote areas to go and help sort people out there and give them better health care, we may erode all these gains when problems start coming in, when monies are not being paid to the doctors, and when they are not getting what they are supposed to get. Indeed, even monies that are transferred sometimes do get lost in transit. And we all know it happens in this country. And so, and district assemblies may find need to do certain things with the money which is not supposed to. And all these things, so if we don't build the capacity of these people, we don't ensure that the right people are in place, we don't have the right personnel and logistics in place to ensure that when these things are happening, they have avenues for redress and all that, we will have problems. And that's what we do. We are always in a hurry to do things. And now it is easy to target doctors because it appears that we have become one of the most unpopular people in the country. And so now it's so hard. And that is why these things are happening. Otherwise, I can tell you that the minister will not be telling us this and us at this time. And that is exactly what is happening.
Let's move away from this quickly and talk about the Ebola scare. Yeah. What's the latest on it?
Hello?
I'm saying let's talk about the Ebola scare.
Okay.
Now, what has the association had as being the latest on this case?
Well, I mean, as of now, it is not definitely an Ebola virus outbreak or infection. It's a suspected one. Indeed, unfortunately, the patient involved had already died. Some postmortems have been done. Blood samples have been taken, and hopefully to Noguchi. We'll probably be getting the results in the next 48 hours or so. And so for now, what we can say is that we should all keep calm. We should not panic. But what we should remember is that there are other hemorrhagic the fevers that we have around. Even our own yellow fever, where we all do get immunizations when we are babies and children, it can cause a hemorrhagic fever. And so if issue is that the problem is that if you wait until this bleeding sets in, it's always very late. But if anybody out there feels ill, has any catarrh symptoms, fever, joint pains, and so forth, the best thing to do is that you should go to your doctor let the doctor evaluate, and then assess. And as far as Ebola is concerned, I'm sure that the ministry and other public health systems will be kicked in immediately. We confirm or otherwise of the disease.
So how are we preparing for that?
Interestingly, what I can say is that it is difficult to prepare for some of these things because this is a virus which does not have any vaccine that is effective against it. It has no treatment against it. The only thing that we can advise is personal hygiene. We reduce this handshaking and all that and make sure that we wash our hands. And then if there is anybody who is sick in your house showing signs of this rhinorrhea in terms of that running nose, fever, and those so forth, be careful the way you handle his body secretions, including his vomitures and his feces and, of course, other secretions in terms of blood and so forth. Be careful the way you handle it and report to the nearest health facility for assistance. But ultimately, the issue is that as of now, it's usually health workers who are mostly at risk because it is difficult in the initial stages to be able to diagnose it unless it has progressed to a certain level. But now, the only contingency measure that we have put in place is that our antennas are high, and immediately we suspect anybody with any kind of viral infection, we'll please have to make a differential once this case has been confirmed.
Dr. Sembro, you agree with me that it does raise questions as to how this got into the country in the first place? Because earlier we were told how, by the health ministry, how they were working together with our health officers here in the country at our various borders to help arrest an entry into the country. But here we are, 12-year-old girl dies of a suspected case of Ebola.
Well, what is interesting is that we also say suspected, so we are not sure. We have that it is indeed Ebola. Even if it is, what we should know is that movement of people across borders these days is very easy. And one thing is that it is not everybody who will come in sick because it has an incubation period of at least 12 days. So some people may have had an infection and yet they will not be sick. They will come in before they develop the symptoms in country. So you can't catch everybody at the entry points and take their blood and screen them to see whether they have Ebola or not.
Well, why can't we do that?
Hello?
Why can't we do that?
How do you explain to the
we don't want
everybody coming?
We don't want the virus here.
There is a war for this virus at the foot back.
I see.
Country, the other.
Dr. Sherbo, your line is breaking away, so we'll end our conversation here. Thank you very much. Dr. Frank Srebo is General Secretary for the Ghana Medical Association. But health officials will later today hold an emergency meeting following the death of a child at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, suspected to have been caused by the Ebola virus. Samples from the child have already been sent to the Noguchi Research Center at Legon to determine whether indeed she died from the Ebola virus or not. Now, Joynews spoke earlier with Dr. Ebenezer Apiadencha, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. Listen.
Yeah, the samples have been taken from Komfo-Anokye to Noguchi, so they'll be working on it. They'll be working on it over the weekend and this morning as well. So this morning we'll try to get a report from them. So we are actually waiting. It takes some time to get do the test.
We know that it's a very sticky situation, especially when there is an epidemic like this, and significantly countries along the sub-region will have to be warned, and there are public health officials on the alert. How do you make sure that cases perhaps that are relating or related to the symptoms are not construed or misconstrued to be the significant cases as there are?
Yeah, that is the reason why we're making the minister will be making a press release this morning because we have to get the things facts right. So after the necessary preparations, informing our health workers in the field, and then sensitizing them, trying to draw the plans, getting the budgets and everything ready, we feel that it's now time for her to now make a statement because of the surrounding countries.
I'm sorry about that. It was some sort of hitch here in the studio. But I'll read some of your messages. I'll share some of your messages with you. Bonti Benjamin from Kumasi says, how best are we prepared to fight such a deadly disease to the letter? Lord have mercy. And he's sending out some greetings to some people. But Adam Zakio says, we have to be serious as a country to do all our best to prevent that deadly disease from spreading throughout the country. We know the disease control officers are up and doing, but there is still more room for improvement. George Alonso Kwekuyebwa says, I hope this is not a PR stunt to reinstate caste in the minds of Ghanaians. George, who would want to do that? However, let's not create unnecessary panic among the citizenry before we are certain of what the cause of death is. Let professionals deal with both the public health and PR aspects for now. Thank you very much for your message on this particular topic. But there's more ahead. When we return, we'll go to Tamale and find out how the NPP is preparing towards their big day on April 12th. Don't go away. I'm glad you could stay on Newsdesk. My name is Kemini Nyamani Emmanuel. Let's go to Tamale now. And I was telling you the New Patriotic Party will Saturday elect national executives to steer affairs of the party ahead of the 2016 polls. Now, some 5,200 delegates are expected to cast their ballots to choose national leaders for the party. 1,200 security personnel will be detailed there, including hostels and hotels, to ensure a violent-free event in the region. We've taken the lead there. Emmanuel Anta is there for us, and he's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Ima. Hello, Ima.
Hello, Kamini.
How long have you been in Tamale already?
Well, just a few hours. We arrived here yesterday in the afternoon, around 2 in the afternoon, and we've been going around trying to fish for information for our viewers to really get to know what is really going on the ground.
Perfect. Share some of this with us.
Come again.
Share some of the information you've gathered already with us.
All right. Now, the information, like we said in the morning on the AM show, is that things have not really been like the euphoria that is surrounding such elections. You cannot see much here in town at the moment. The only things you can see, the only branding you can see is the NPP flags that have been posted on the electric poles here. Apart from that, you don't see anything. Even advertisements for candidates, you cannot even see much. We are only seeing Paula Foko, Jagbele, and a few others. But there's not much really going on. Nothing is showing that something is going to happen here. The information we gather is that probably from tomorrow going, that's when we'll start seeing much action being taking place, because they are now gathering themselves up to really get the things going. Tell us
some of the things the locals have been telling you.
Well, for them, the information I gather indicates that the people are coming to them in their houses. They are doing the door-to-door campaign, and they are being convinced, especially the delegates, they are being convinced to vote for one person or the other. Not much really. They are all really united in making sure a very good program or a very good event is organized here, so that it will go in the records of the NPP election committee that they organize a better and a much better election for the party.
All right. Earlier today, you were at the stadium where the event will be organized. Share with us some of the things you gathered for those of us who may not have been on the AM show.
Well, we have gone to the bathrooms, and the sanitation challenges have been solved, because we went there, everything is clean, everything is been tied, the whole place is tidied up, and I'm told Zoom Lion is being contracted to ensure sanitation challenges at the place is really tackled. Everything is being put in place. They have emergency wards that might, if in case anybody falls into any mishap, they might indeed treat the person before it gets into any problem. They have everything in place. The security, over 1,000 policemen and military are being deployed onto the grounds on the day. And the VIP end of the stadium is where the whole thing is going to be organized. The red pavilion, the red seats is where the delegates and the officials are going to be like. So everything is in order. and everything is going on well, Kamini.
You are in Tamale already. Share with us what viewers should expect from you and the rest of the team that will join you later.
Yeah, before I even go to that, the information I also gather is that from tomorrow, the delegates might start arriving. I know Yamaboy Asamoah is coming tomorrow. It's a definite person who is coming tomorrow. And then the other delegates who are also involved in this problem, and then the representatives who are contesting for the various positions are also starting to arrive tomorrow. Friday, I'm told Alan Chermantin is also coming into town. I just spoke to his PR who confirmed to me that Friday they are coming to town. And so the whole action will start from Wednesday, from tomorrow Tuesday through to Friday. That's when we'll see a lot of the big shots coming to town. But as to what to expect or what those coming to Tamale should expect is that the whole place is booked. There's no single hotel that is available for any probably perching, or if anything, if you're coming and you don't have arrangements made for your accommodation, it means you have to find someone living here, or then you must be ready to sleep in your car, because every hotel here and every hostel or any accommodation around is rented out. It's sold out. So there is nothing you can do. What you need to do is when you're coming, and the whole place is also calm. It seems the people have really organized the thing in such a way that every single person in this town, whether from both sides of the divide, are bent on making sure an event-free occasion is held here. So there's not much going on at the moment, but we are trying to fish for more information for the team and our viewers.
So you're there. As far as coverage is concerned, what should we expect from you?
Well, they should expect nothing but the best. We will make sure they get the detailed information, not just any information, and we'll give them what nobody else is giving them. We'll make sure we go to where no one else is going to get them the information they deserve, and they will make sure they feel as if they are here coming in.
Thank you very much, Ima. Emmanuel Ante joined us from Tamale, where his pitch camp awaiting the big day for the NPP, the National Delegates Congress, that's supposed to take place April 12th, Tamale. You had the man. We'll bring you comprehensive coverage of the NPP Delegates Congress from now till the big day itself, April 12th. You can expect Joynews to bring you up to speed, up to day after day events before the Congress itself. Now, let me just take you through some of the things we've been discussing this morning. And we've looked at the Ministry of Health's intention to have district assemblies pay doctors within their districts. We've looked at both sides of the divide as the Ghana Medical Association is kicked against the move to have the district assemblies across the country pay the salaries of medical doctors. We've had Eric Oduro-Osai, who is Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Government, share with us his thoughts that he agrees and he thinks it will help better the system. But the Ghana Medical Association, on the other hand, believes this is not sustainable and it's a grand scheme to put the doctors in the background. And then we've also been to Tamale. Oh, well, before I tell you about Tamale, we also spoke about the Ebola scare, and later today we should have, you know, a concise information whether or not indeed the virus that's killed this young child is Ebola or not. But just as Dr. Sherbo explained to us, there is no vaccine, there is no treatment for it. It's difficult to prepare for such a thing. But most importantly, you observing some hygienic, what's the word? Being hygienic would help you from not contracting this virus. And then we went to Tamale. We were joined by Emmanuel Ante from Tamale, and he shared with us the mood in Tamale ahead of the National Delegates Congress for the NPP. He tells us the real deal starts from tomorrow, and I was telling you that will bring you up to speed whatever happens in Tamale. I'll take a quick break. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying on Newsdesk. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Now, the TUC is angry at proposed austere measures, which will see the salaries of the public sector workers remain the same as government hopes to cut spending and deal with a ballooning budget deficit. The measures were contained in the policy statement on Ghana's economy presented by the Minister of Finance at Tekwe to Parliament last week. In particular, the TUC says it finds it strange the government is considering a freeze on pay increases for workers this year. I'm not sure why, because they said that in the 2014 budget. Now, a statement signed by TUC General Secretary Kofi Asamoah in reaction to Tekwe's presentation to Parliament on April 1, 2014, also insisted that the single spine pay policy, a payment structure for public sector workers, is not the cause of the country's economic challenges. The minister had always maintained that single spine is not sustainable going forward because the country's wage bill could exceed the total revenue if steps are not taken to address the situation. Tekwe also disclosed in August last year the government spent 4.3 billion Ghana cedis on wages and salaries alone for the first half of 2013. That represents 70.1% of total national revenue. The TUC, however, says the country's economic challenges are the result of economic mismanagement. Unfortunately, we are unable to get to the TUC over the telephone. But here's what we'll do. In subsequent broadcasts, we'll bring you the TUC over the telephone and then ask them why they are surprised even after government. This is the second announcement government is making about freezing salaries. But anyway, the TUC is surprised and it believes economic mismanagement is the cause of the huge wage bill. We'll find out more from the TUC in subsequent broadcasts. You might want to stay on for that. But I'm totally grateful. You stay through Newsdesk. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amana. I'll see you again at midday on News Today. Goodbye.